Hey guys, welcome to YZ Owl. My name is Siddhan Shekhar, and today we are continuing our lecture on Introduction to Marketing. Now we are in the second half of the course. This is lecture 6, and today we are talking about step 4 of the marketing cycle that we are talked about, the marketing flow chart of activities that we are talked about, which is delivering value. Now we had already talked about that how creating value is not enough for a marketing person. You can create the best product out there, but you would not have completed your job if your customers cannot access that product. So in today's lecture, we'll be talking about delivering value, which is to say how to get the product or the service that we have created to the customer. What are the things that you need to take care of in order to do this effectively and efficiently? And then what are, the decision making processes that go into it and things like that. So let's start with the basics. Distribution. Whenever I'm talking about distribution, what I'm essentially meaning is that I have created a product, but that product, if it sits in my warehouse, it doesn't do me any good, it doesn't get me any revenue, doesn't get me any profits, and therefore I need to get this product out there in the market. I need to make it accessible to the customer so that the customer can buy this product. Until and unless I do that, I would not have completed my job as a marketer. So then what are marketing channels? Now marketing channels, now consider it in this example. Let's say you are a company who is manufacturing toothpaste. Now, every place where your customer can buy that toothpaste from is a marketing channel for you. The customer can go to an online website, it can, order it from an Amazon or a Flipkart, then that is one marketing channel for you. If the customer can go to the local Kirana shop and buy it from there, that is a marketing channel for you. If a customer can go and get it from a big bazaar or, a supermarket like that, even that is a marketing channel for you. So every independent organization where a customer can approach and buy your product or your service is a marketing channel for you. Or the more technical or the more ops oriented definition would be that it is a set of pathways a product or a service follows after production, culminating in the purchase and use by the final end user, which is essentially saying the same thing, but it is talking more in terms of, the operation side of things rather than the marketing side of things. But however, the basic meaning of it is the same. Now, what are the examples? Now, obviously, there are a lot of different examples of marketing channels. There are some which are specific to particular industries. There are some which are, very widely used. We will not look at an exhaustive list here because that's a very long lecture. Instead of that, we'll just talk about some of the examples today. For example, traditional retail, your local mom and pop stores, your local Kirana stores. Now, this is traditional retail. What happens in traditional retail is that these traditional retailers buy their product from a distributor or a wholesaler, depending upon, there are few different uh, considerations in deciding whether a retailer will get from a distributor or a wholesaler. So that varies with the market conditions and the region and the location and the geography and things like that. But traditional retail is basically a brick and mortar shop, which is, very easily accessible. There's a lot of, familial connection with the people because people from a colony or a community frequent a few particular shops. So therefore, this is what traditional retail is. It's the way business has been done in India for the last 100 or so years. So that is what traditional retail itself means. However, there's also the modern retail. Now, what do I mean by modern retail? Therein, I mean the supermarkets. I mean the big bazaars, the Reliance Fresh, and all of these supermarkets. Now, why are they different from traditional retail? For a couple of reasons. A, the size of the business. They store everything. You can get from toothpaste to a mobile phone to a fridge over there. So that is one key consideration which differentiates them from a traditional retail store. Also, in modern retail, one difference is that they also in some ways act as their own distributors. Now, what do I mean by that? For a lot of modern retail stores, there's a central hub. So in that central hub, product comes from the production of the company's production facility. It comes to the central hub of that modern retailer, and from there it's the modern retailer's job to get that product to its individual stores. So that is not something that is done in traditional retail. In traditional retail, it's your wholesaler or a distributor who breaks up the lot. What do I mean by that? Let's say a wholesaler buys one box of toothpaste which has 100 tubes of it. So then let's say I don't want 100, I want 20. So my distributor or my wholesaler will take a small margin and then give me 20 instead of dumping the entire 100 on me. In case of modern retail, that breaking up of the lot is done by the modern retailer itself. It's not done by the producer. So that's the second thing. Then there's online retail. It's something that all of us are very familiar with. There's Amazon, there's Flipkart, there's Myntra. Basically, any and everything that you can think of, you can buy it online now. Everything legal at least. And one of the key considerations over here is that because online retail is so convenient, because you can access it at any time, you can order it and then the product will be delivered to your house at usually no extra charge. These are the things which have helped online retail boom very quickly in India as well as the rest of the world in the recent years. And the rules of marketing on online retail are very different from what were followed in traditional or modern retail. And you can, we can maybe do another course about how it's different. But the rules for online retail are very different in terms that because you can access it at any time, there's a system of reviews, there's very stiff competition. It's your job to get the product to the customer, so there are the last mile delivery issues and everything, which is why online retail is a very vast subject in itself. Then there's the wholesaler. Now, how is the wholesaler different from a distributor? In function, not much. But one key difference is that in a lot of cases, the wholesalers and the distributors are often at odds with each other because they're competing for the same set of customers, which are usually the retailers. Now, distributors usually give out products at a cost that is mutually decided between the company and the distributor. Or they have a small leeway in deciding their margins, but they can't change fudge that number up too much. However, in wholesale, that is entirely upon the wholesaler, in which case in a lot of cases, the wholesaler often ends up undercutting, which is to say selling their product at a lower price than the distributor to the retailer. And therefore, you can't really do it with a wholesale because it's the way business has been done in the country for the last, approximately 100 years or so. However, it's here to stay, and it does again the very important job of breaking up the lot. And finally, there's mail order. Now, this has gone slightly in the background ever since online retail. But before online retail, a lot of times brochures or pamphlets were given out to people's houses, like as a letter or in their post or something. From there, people could check off the products that they want and then send it into the company with a check or a demand draft or something, and the that would be sent back to the customer. So even that was a very prominent marketing channel about 10-15 years ago. It still exists in some industries, but it's on its way out now. Now, what are my distribution strategies? Now, as a company, there are a few ways in which I can play this. I can use either the push strategy or I can use either the pull strategy. Pause and read the definition if you must, but I'll talk about it at length over here. Now, what the push strategy does is that it is essentially what it sounds like. It's the company pushing the product to the customer. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, let's say I'm trying to sell toothpaste. Now, when I as a customer am going to buy a toothpaste, I don't really care if I don't find my particular brand over there, because there's not a lot of difference between the brands, either in terms of the price or the features. I'm okay with buying any of them, and therefore I'll just pick whatever's right in front of me and leave. Now, as a company, it's not something that I want. I want people to stay loyal to my brand. So in that case, push strategies are used. It is made sure by making sure that your product is always visible in the retailer shop. It's made sure by that the retailer is always stocked up on your product. It's always visible. It's always right in front of the customer. Plus, you give the retailer larger margins than your competitors, so that the retailer makes more money when it's selling your product, which also in turn incentivizes the retailer to push that product. A very good example of this is a mobile company, Vivo. Now, what the way Vivo has been doing business, some reports say that they have given very large margins to the retailers, as a result of which the retailers have been pushing their phones in your preference to the other brands, because they'll be making a lot more money by selling a Vivo phone than by selling a phone of any other brand. Now, this is what is a classic push strategy move. On the other side, there's the pull strategy. Now, let's say I'm not a Vivo, I'm an Apple. I already have a huge brand loyalty. I already have a very good brand image. I already have a very loyal customer base. In that case, I don't really need to push my product onto someone. I know that if I put the word out that I'm coming up with a new product, the customers will come to me. In that case, the customers will demand my channel partners or my marketing channels that I want this product, make it available to me. In that case, I don't have to give margins to the retailers. I don't have to give margins to the wholesalers or the distributors. Instead, I'll spend that money in advertising and communicating to the customer or of about my brand, about my product, and then that'll pull the customer, and hence the name. It will pull the customer towards my product and make sure that the channel partners uh, are pressurized or persuaded by the customers to make the product available. So these are the two broad strategies. There are obviously, there are nuances there. There are sorts of also hybrids of there that some companies have played with, but these are the two broad strategies. There's the push strategy where you push a product on, and there's the pull strategy where you pull the customer towards yourself to buy your product. Let's talk about, now there are different types of distributions as well. Now what do I mean by types of distribution? When I am deciding upon my market channels, now there I have the world open to me as a company. I can go to every mom and pop store, or I can build my own stores if I want to. Now in the types of distribution, what we'll talk about is what are the key decisions you need to make in order to identify what kind of channel you want to go in. For example, you're selling very high-end luxury watches. Now, you would not want to sell those out of a local mom and pop kirana store, because that hurts your brand image. It doesn't really do you any good. And in the end, you'll actually end up hurting your brand image. So in those cases, you go into exclusive distribution, where you create your exclusive showrooms which store only your product. You get dealers who will deal only in your brand, or only on products made by your company, and that's it. These people are not allowed to stock anything else. This is very common in cars. This is very common in luxury watches. This used to be very common in mobiles and computers as well, but this is a bit on the dying end now. However, exclusive distribution is a major force to reckon with. Secondly, there's selective distribution, where I do not put my product in all the intermediaries that are willing to carry it. For example, every store in India would love to get their hands on an iPhone, because the margins are good. I don't have to make any efforts in selling the product. However, I as Apple will make sure that not every retailer gets access to that. That is what selective distribution is. Now, what's my logic behind doing this? Couple of things. A, it retains my brand image by going for selective distribution. I can control the look and feel of the retailers. I can make sure that the kind of experience the customers are getting is under my control, and it's a good experience. And because of these reasons, you go for selective distribution. You don't give your product to all the intermediaries, but you fit certain criterias, and only if an intermediary is above those criterias, only then you go in and do this. And lastly is the intensive distribution, which is what you do when you want every store available to carry your product. This happens in FMCG, this happens a lot in food products and snacks and biscuits and chips and things like that. Because in these cases, it doesn't really make sense for you to go for selective distribution, because the price point is very low. A lot of these purchases are impulse purchases. There's not a lot of brand loyalty. And because of that, you're okay with just placing a product everywhere possible, so that you make your money through the volumes and not on the margins. Let's talk about choosing channels now. Now we have already talked about the types of distribution. However, that does not tell me what channel should I go. I can do exclusive retail. I can do exclusive distribution on online as well as offline. How do I make that choice? Now for that, there is a very clean looking graph over here. On the y-axis, I have the value added of sale. Now what do I mean by that? What is the value that is brought to the sale by the channel? Now, for example, I have a store with very highly trained salespeople who know everything about the product. Now, these people will bring a very high value added to my product, a very high value add to the selling process. However, if I just have an FAQ page, which is very poorly maintained, which doesn't have all the questions and answers, which doesn't cater to customized questions, in that case, it will not bring a lot of value add to my sale. Now, this is what this graph talks about. On the y-axis are the value of sale, and on the right axis are my cost per transaction. Now, obviously, maintaining a website is a lot cheaper than having a sales force. However, a sales force also brings you a higher value add of your sales, because the sales force is trained. It's made of people. These people know the names of their customers. These people know how to negotiate. These people know how to persuade, because of which they bring a higher value to the sale, in comparison to, let's say, something like internet or telemarketing, which is a more broad based generalized kind of an approach, which may or may not work with everyone. In this case, The cost per transaction is very low. All you have to pay is for that one phone call or that one domain name that you're hosting, but the value added brought to the sale is also low. Now you as a company need to decide in this trade-off, how much are you willing to spend, what is the amount of value add that you need to your sale, and how much are you willing to spend for that. For example, cars. It's very difficult to sell cars online because there will be absolutely, the customer, because it's a very big purchase, the customer will have questions, they'll want to test drive it and all sorts of things. So in that case, you need a sales force, you need a physical store, you need a brick and mortar store, you need all of those things. However, you're very okay selling software on the internet, because for that you don't need a brick and mortar store. Most of it is online, most of it is a file that you need to download or a CD that you need to mail to them. In that case, it's okay, you can get away with just having it on the internet, because you don't need a lot of value add, and your cost per transaction is also low in that case. Obviously you could have a sales force for your software, some companies do as well. However, as a company, you need to make that call: is my product expensive enough, and is my product valuable enough to warrant the sales force in the first place? Now let's talk about channel decision making. How do you, so what are the steps that you take when you are deciding a channel, when you are deciding what channels to pursue, how to pursue them, what type of distribution to do? So first of all, you select your channel members. Do you want to go retailers? Do you want to go online? Do you want to go offline? Do you want to go exclusive, intensive, selective? All of these things. You first of all, you decide with that. This is your opening point. With for that, you go back to the graph that we talked about in the last slide. Next is training channel members. Now, obviously, in this case, it's a bit easier if it's online only, but in case of offline, you have to train your retailers, you have to train your salespeople, you have to train your wholesalers, you have to tell them about the features of your products, and how to talk about their, what additional features do they bring, or why is it good for a customer, or help, a customer solve that problem, things like that. So in this case, this training channel members is also very important, because even if you make the best decision in terms of the selection of channel members, if they're not well trained, if you don't know what to do, your marketing efforts will fall flat. Then you evaluate the channel members. Are the channel members doing their job properly? Now, for this, let's say I have an example of McDonald's. So McDonald's works on a franchisee system. So these franchisees are the channels, the marketing channels for McDonald's. The product they are selling is our burgers, and therefore each one of these outlets is a marketing channel for them. However, in cases there are health violations, in case the service isn't good, in case there are complaints against a particular outlet, the McDonald's can choose to close down that outlet. So which is what is meant by evaluation of the channel members. If that channel member is hurting my brand image, if it's alienating customers from me, I need to shut that down. And for that, I need to keep on evaluating the channel members. I could do it with a performance management system, I could do it with customer ratings, I could do it with feedback, whatever that might be. But this is something that I need to do as a company to make sure that my customers have a good experience and they keep on coming back to me for my product. And lastly, then you modify the channel design. In this case, for example, the way I talked about mail order and online. So a lot of things used to be sold on mail order about 20 years ago or 30 years ago. But now they are not. A lot of things are sold online. So this making the shift from mail order to online is what I mean by modification of your channel design. Not every channel is going to work for every product at every point of time. For example, when Maruti started their Nexa line, they decided to create an entirely new distribution system for it, different from their Maruti. Because with Nexa, they were aiming for the luxury market, and they were worried that associating the name Maruti with Nexa, it's going to dilute that luxury feel. So therefore, they distanced themselves entirely from that brand and created an entirely new market chain with exclusive retailers, with well-trained, usually more expensive salespeople, so as to give that feeling of a bit more luxurious product to the customer. And this is what I mean by modifying channel design. You might have a channel design that has worked very well in the past. It does not mean that it will stay that way forever, and it's important to keep on adapting and changing with the environment. I hope that has cleared some things about distribution and channel management. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll get to them. And if you like this video, subscribe and give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.